discounts as part of last week's newsletter offer on my website. So make sure you guys sign up for a newsletter so you don't miss out future offers, because I offer great discounts and free bonus extra additional time to your sessions from time to time. So this is going to be a video all about travel. Okay, so they had just 3 questions for me, kind of like a Q&A format, but I'm gonna try to speak as much in detail as possible to fill the time about each question, or to answer each question as much detail as possible, and then just talk about anything else about travel, I guess, that comes to mind. I'll just keep rambling until the video's up. So the first question Jennifer asked me is, do I get flight anxiety? Honey, I don't get any anxiety nowadays. I don't know what happened to me. I swear to my life, like, I must be like a walk-in soul, or I've just done a lot of healing work on myself in general, but I don't know what happened. Like, anxiety is just, it doesn't exist in my world anymore. I don't really feel that fear anymore. Sometimes, like, people around me will be like, whoa, 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 watch out, and I'm like, why are you freaked out? Like, I don't know, like, I will almost slam into a car and I just won't feel anything. But yeah, so flight anxiety is it's used to be a thing when I was a kid. I was actually I was terrified one day when we were flying as a family to Florida, and I was like probably 8 years old or something like that, and I was literally crying. The turbulence was so bad. I don't know if it's just because I was a kid and I felt it more as a kid, but you feel those bumps when you're a child, okay? Like, I've traveled on my own internationally as a kid. I was fine. This was terrifying. Yeah, so I think the anxiety started because of that one event. The pilot was just, I'm sorry, they were just, the landing was crap, the takeoff was crap, the whole flight was good. They were just bad. I'm sorry, but it's true. It was a Southwest flight, I'll never forget it, and it was just so bumpy. Like, there wasn't a bumpier way to get from Illinois to Florida than with that pilot. And they were new, but I'm like, come on, man. Like, did you not pay attention at flight school? No, but I'm messing around. But seriously, it pissed me off because, like, that traumatized my inner child. Okay, I'm joking, but seriously, I'm not. Like, that was the flight that caused me to fear flights. I wasn't afraid of flights before that. Because of that one flight, I feared the next 20, 30 flights. I kid you not. It took me forever to get over flight anxiety, to the point I feel nausea in the morning before a flight, especially early morning flights, which, I mean, I don't hate nowadays because I'm grown and I'm so used to, life and, but it's like, I would get the shivers, the jitters, I would get nervous sweats, my palms would sweat, my heart would race, my stomach would get upset, I couldn't, like, anything I tried to eat would just be, I'd have to go to the bathroom, let's put it that way. That's how nervous and anxious I would get before a flight because of that one flight that, I'm telling you, it, like, I'm not even exaggerating. I remember, like, 2 or 3 times, like, everyone was screaming because we were, like, plummeting. Like, it was bad. So that caused me a lot of stir. I hate that had to happen when I was so young. I wish that happened. Well, I wish that never happened, but I wish that happened maybe when I was in my 20s. I would have handled it better. But, like, 8, oh my gosh. Like, yeah. And then you get your friends telling you, like, there's like a small chance like something could happen, something devastating could happen. So there was another event that solidified my fear of flying. Again, I don't know what happened. I just think once I got more used to traveling and went on flight after flight after flight, it just made me numb to it, and I don't fear early morning flights anymore. I don't get the anxiety of like, oh my gosh, you have to go park the car in the long-term parking, then you have to catch the shuttle, then you have to catch the train to take you to the gate, you know, like, then you have to drop your bags off, then you have to go scan your ticket to get to the next shuttle, to get to your next gate, then you have to go, like, you know, like the anxiety of like timing and stuff. I don't really feel that anymore. I kind of just push through, and you kind of have to, you know. I think if you only travel once a year, you're probably still going to feel anxious. So you have to do it more often. Just like with, like, you know, presenting a speech in front of a live audience. Your first time, you're going to be nervous as hell, especially if that's in your personality. But, you know, like, I'm more paranoid than anything. I'm not so much afraid. I have just like a paranoia about me of like, oh, like it's an anger. I get like agitation. Like, my partner knows me. I'm like, what if we're late? Like, oh my gosh, like, then for me, it's like, then I'll have wasted all my money. It's more an agitation, paranoia, than a fear. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So no flight anxiety, just maybe, like, anger is always my first emotion I run to. I don't really feel the other emotions until later, or if I process them deeply. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question, but I guess I could give some advice now for anyone who has flight anxiety, besides just travel more, just do it more, just get over it, you know, because it's not that easy with anxiety. It's like depression. It's like, you can't just get over it. It doesn't work that way. Therapy, okay? Talk it out, you know, and really, you know, do some like healing, like Reiki healing or something, like do hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy saved my life. It honestly made me less crazy. You know, working on my subconscious mind and my hidden beliefs and fears and doubts, it performed miracles in my life. It changed my life forever, and it improved my income too. Okay, so yeah, work on that, especially if you have, like, there's a lot of people who like, it doesn't work, like, they have frequent flights for business, and they still fear every flight. I understand. Again, write it down, journal. Maybe once you sit on the plane, start journaling. How am I feeling? Is this fear rational? Is this fear going to go away? Yes, it's going to go away once we're in the air. I'm just feeling it now, temporarily, but I know it will pass. Write it down, you know, keep reassuring yourself, keep comforting yourself, okay? Go with a loved one. That's the best way to get over, even though it's like a crutch or a band-aid, it still helps, you know. Hold their hand while you're taking off, you know. And landing, you know, takeoff and landing is usually the most scary part, and mid-air turbulence. If your first ever flight is international, maybe try something domestic first. Don't do the whole international for your first flight. You're gonna be terrified, okay? Especially that, like, Atlantic Ocean turbulence. No, honey, don't do it, okay? Wait till maybe your fifth flight. Get over the fear completely, and then go for it, okay? And hey, if medication works for you, maybe take that before you board. Okay, so question number 2. All right. Question number 2. So, what other places do you still want to visit? So, a lot of places, honestly. But honestly, because of my, I don't want to say frequent travels. I'm really not a frequent traveler like that. I'm such a homebody still. But, like, in the past 5 to 6 years, I have traveled more frequently than I ever have in my whole life. So I'm kind of over it, to be honest. I bore easily. So, yeah, believe it or not, I am bored of traveling too. Right now, I'm kind of in that mode in my life. I'm like, I just want to kind of, like, live my life the way it is and enjoy it the way it is now, and kind of enjoy what I've built. And just kind of let that go, to be honest with you, which is why I don't really talk about it anymore. I just have like one more kind of semi-major thing coming up. It's a cruise. I mean, it's not major to me, but you know, it's a nice cruise. Let's put it that way. It's a nice room. So, you know, I'm gonna stay in Miami overnight beforehand. It's a nice home with a hot tub, and then we go to this cruise to the Bahamas for 5 days, 4 nights. Okay, big deal, right? It's not the greatest thing I've ever done, but you know, I'm looking forward to being, just to be honest, just being done with that. I am not a fan of spending my money like that. I didn't realize how much I spent and how much it accumulated over time. It adds up, right? So, yeah, especially if you put it on a credit card, like the interest rates. Oh my gosh. So, yeah, I'm kind of just simmering down after that for quite some time. You know, yeah, I'm pretty bored, you know. So, I'm trying to, I don't feel I have to work on that, but I'm curious as to what the next thing in my life looks like, because to be honest with you, my ex got me into traveling a lot. I was actually just looking at my calendar since 2020 up until now. My travel started once I met my ex, right? So he kind of got me what I call the travel bug, and I haven't looked back since. But now I'm like, I'm looking back and I'm realizing like, oh, there's a pattern there, right? Like, part of me, this sounds wicked or twisted, but like was kind of like envious of him because he gets to travel a lot, you know. I'm sure he still does. I haven't really got to catch up with him like that, but you know, he's able to afford, you know, frequent travels. So I believe he's seeing like, I don't know how many dozens of countries at least, right? So to me, I was trying to like one up that and compete with that, but then I'm like, okay, I realistically can't do that without going into like, well, I wouldn't go into debt, but like, let's just say without spending a huge chunk of what I've built, right? So I was like, you know what, it's just me. Virgo loves money, loves to keep their money. Nope, I can't do that, right? I with my income, I can't afford to be able to like just travel the way he does. So part of me was healing and letting go of him, which thank God I have completely let go of this person entirely. Like, I have no hard feelings whatsoever, and I think that's why I'm able to talk about this now openly many years later. Is realizing I am not him. I am my own person, right? And, you know, I felt like I was becoming like him at one point, you know, and it almost became like an obsession. And it took me a while to kind of snap out of it and realize like I'm my own person and I have my own interests, and traveling is just not something that's always been exciting or interesting to me. It's like, yeah, I love the occasional vacation, but to me the planning and the pre-recording is more exhausting. By the time you go on vacation, you have to recover just from planning and pre-recording. So is it worth it to begin with? Unless you're away for like a month, then it's different. Do you know what I mean? But then if I'm away more than a week, I miss home. I miss my dog. I don't like it very much, you know, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, that's honest. I didn't want to admit that for so long, but that was a huge reason why I was kind of like one-upping him in a way, making him maybe jealous. But no, but I genuinely enjoyed where I went, and it was a genuine interest at the time, but now it's just faded. I'm like, okay, you know, I've had countless beautiful memories, way more than him, with my partner of 2.5 years now, and you know, I think I have something of way more value now than I did with somebody that I only spent 7 months of my life with. So why should I value less what I have now? Do you know what I mean? So I've learned to appreciate even the little things I have now, and I think that's part of my minimalistic approach, is like, you don't always have to travel, and like, you know, part of it is like escapism too. A lot of people do that to just escape their reality. They think living in Vietnam for 6 months is going to solve and heal all their problems, and it really doesn't. It just puts sometimes some people who are not, I'm not crying, I'm just like getting gunk out of my eye. It keeps feeling like there's something in my eyelash. But like people who don't like work from home, it puts them into more debt, you know, and then they just come back home to an even bigger mountain of problems, and they realize they just, not always, but a lot of times, that they just ran from their life because it got too overwhelming. And look, I'm not judging you. I still fantasize about moving to Bali or Thailand probably 100 times a week. You know, it's just a fantasy of mine, just to like escape and never return. But obviously I wouldn't do that to you guys. I would honestly still film. Yeah, even if I never have to work again. I would still film. So back to what other places do I still want to visit? There are still some places that draw me in, believe it or not. Spain, España, right? I would love to see Seville, Barcelona, all of them hoes. Right? Like all those towns, all those cities, like everything. I want to see the whole nature, the whole landscape, the culture, the people, the history, the food. I want to take it all in. What is wrong with my eye? Do you guys see? Maybe I should zoom in on my eyeball because I don't have a mirror in front of me. Do you see what is wrong with my eye right now? Or no? Am I going crazy? Is that an eyelash or is that my vein? That is an eyelash. I will be right back. Okay, so that was actually my capillary. It wasn't my eyelash, so I don't know what's wrong. I'll just keep rolling it around, I guess, or drinking water until it goes away. I didn't want to put eye drops. I usually do that at night. Maybe I need to hydrate because sometimes that causes dry eye. If I just had oolong tea, green tea, black tea, that can all dehydrate your eyeballs. But anyway, so moving on. Greece. I would love to see Greece. The closest I got was obviously Macedonia. As you know, I've been to Macedonia 5 times for a total of a year of my life, so we got like 5 minutes from the border, but we couldn't cross for some reason. I think my family member who was driving us at the time didn't have their passport on them, so. But, you know, northern Greece was Macedonia at one point, so same thing, close enough, right? Same thing but different. I understand it's different nowadays because of borders and all this stuff, politics, all that, but, you know, to me it's like the same because it's like, it's close enough. Do you know what I'm saying? 5 minutes from the border, it's gonna be very, very similar. So, but I want to see more like southern Greece, like the real Greece, you know what I mean? And it would be nice to see like the islands, the white and blue buildings, like it really does look very different. So, and you know, I have obviously a lot of like, from my DNA it shows Greek blood, Italian blood, Romanian blood. Like, I would love to see some of my ancestral heritage, right? Because they were all moving around by boats and wars and pillaging, like, you know, everyone mixed in that area, in that region. So, and I don't really know beyond maybe great-grandparents too much about their history and what happened. I mean, Macedonia was, up until the early 1900s, ruled by the Turkish Ottoman Empire, right? So, like, who knows what I'm mixed with? A lot of people do assume automatically that I'm Turkish, and, you know, to some extent, I guess, technically, but either way, so that's like a place that like looks very much peaceful, looks like a great vacation spot. So, South Africa, I know it's a lot of turmoil there right now, a lot of like massive unemployment and power outages and stuff like that. Like, you know, that stuff doesn't bother me, or I'm not afraid so much of that, because even Macedonia had its fair share of problems over the years. So I'm not afraid to like necessarily go out or walk alone at night, or, you know, I don't really think about these things. Maybe I'm ignorant because I grew up in basically suburbs all my life. And, but, you know, I don't have that, like, situational awareness necessarily when it comes to crime. So I may just be clueless about how bad it is. But I've heard stories, and it's definitely not a great time to travel in general, especially with how people view Americans right now because of certain global happenings. You know, although I do have to say it's not necessarily the people's fault for what happens, it's the people in power. But I understand we technically have a say in who gets in power, so. But besides the point, you know, not every country will welcome you with open arms because basically we money printed the crap out of everything and now everyone is hyperinflated. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, they're gonna be pissed off at us. So, you know, yeah, your real estate went up, but what's the point when your food went up, everything went up? Like, have you really truly gotten wealthier in the last few years? Have you really truly made more money to fight inflation in the last few years? So yeah, a lot of people are going to be pissed, you know. I'm hearing stories from, you know, family in Macedonia who, like, you know, things that used to cost XYZ now cost XYZ. Like, it's astronomical and absurd. And a lot of people, I think, have left that country to find better opportunity or work elsewhere in other nations, in other European nations, because there's just no jobs there left. It's just really bad unless you have a really nice education and or connections. It's crap, you know. It's really scary, actually. You know, I mean, I remember recently having to send money to somebody that I will not mention, but there, just because they just had no choice. They had to, you know. It's bad, you know. So it's, yeah, and then it's a lot of issues and theft and stuff like that. So I'm aware of it. I'm aware that, you know, we're you know, that stuff happens here too, but it's like we are still, no, I'm not gonna say more than that. I think I'm veering off topic, but maybe when things simmer down I will visit these places. How about that? I'll say that much. Besides that, I recently checked Iceland off my list, so that was a dream place. I would love eventually to see other parts of Mexico. I mean, Mexico never really drew me in until I went to visit. Then I was like, oh, this is actually pretty awesome. I like places that are like nice and cheap, you know. More of the Caribbean for sure, which I'm about to go next month for my birthday. But and I don't know, some of South America, maybe Argentina would be nice. Australia would be fun. But no, my top two, Greece and Spain and South Africa. My top three, sorry. Those, I have to be there. I feel like my energy needs to be there. So, but that's about it. I'm not really drawn to many other places, to be honest. For the time being. Again, I'm just not obsessed about travel anymore. So the last question is, any more crazy things that happened on vacation? So they loved my crazy things that happened on vacation video where I talked about crazy things that happened at my vacation to Rhode Island, which were really not that crazy compared to these stories I'm about to tell you. So these are different places that I've been in the world. I could start with this one. Like, anytime I went to Macedonia, I went for 2 to 2.5 months at a time. So there was this woman that was just batshit like, she was just cray cray, right? Like, I don't mean to be mean, but like, and reasonably so, she's been through a lot. She's lost her son, she's lost her husband, so she just lost it one day, right? According to what the neighbors there have told me about this poor lady. But she was so mean. She was so nasty. You know, sometimes in life, when devastating things happen to you, you either have a choice. You go crazy and you just become vile. Or you choose to do good and continue the wheel of good karma, right? Unfortunately, she chose one path, and that's her path, and I wish her well, and I wish her peace. I really do, because no one deserves to suffer that way, you know? I really hope she's found peace and therapy, lots and lots of therapy. But this woman hated us. I don't know, me and my brother, like, as soon as we arrived, and as soon as she saw us, she was just so nasty. I don't know this lady. She was, like, in her 60s at the time. I don't even know if she's still alive. Her name was, like... let's just call her Trey, because her first name started with like Trey. Let's just put it that way. And she was this, you know, she was a large woman, you know. She struggled to walk down the road, and I felt for her. I was like, oh, you know, I don't remember if I offered her help to go down the road, because it's kind of like a cobblestone road. But she was just nasty. I don't know. She was, one day, I don't remember too much in details where the nastiness came from. We didn't bother her. We didn't talk smack about her. But like one day she just walked by us and she looked at us and was like, I hope your plane doesn't crash on the way back to America. I was like, is this crazy? She said, what now? Like, we don't even know you like that, and you're just gonna... So we're just minding our business, sitting on the street corner, and she's just like saying that. I'm like, okay, what a weird thing. So my friends decided to, I may or may not have participated, decided to throw some water balloons one day from the balcony. And we were gonna do it anyway, but she just happened to walk by and may have accidentally got her dress wet. And she threatened to call the popo. They never came, because she's called so many times, apparently. Anytime a neighbor's, like, trash is just seen a little bit from the trash can, she'll call like, because she's just out of her mind. And I was just a teen. Had I known about mental health, I would have had more empathy and compassion for her back then. I just thought she just chose to be nasty to us for no reason. But this was just who she was, because of how much pain she went through in her life. So I feel for her now, but because, you know, anyone could just lose it at any time over any reason, and it's not funny. It really isn't. And I would have just left her alone at that, but I was like, okay, I took it personally. And I will not say if I participated in this, but I maybe had some questionable connections because we were hanging out till like 2 a.m, and all I'll say is I may or may not have participated in well, I've told my story already of my past. This was like over 15 years ago, and I was not even 18 yet, so you can basically get away with anything at that point, especially in a foreign country. But some of my friends were lighting trash cans on fire and throwing fruits over to her balcony, and big water jugs, and stealing watermelons. But besides that night of chaos, the next morning, we had a very unwelcome visit from her about how she found evidence that we threw all this stuff at her yard, especially while she was there having coffee with her friend. So, she called, and we had this, like, camera, and we were recording her for evidence, like, because she started approaching us and throwing rocks at us, and our family that we were staying at made us delete the footage, because if they actually did show up, we would be the ones in trouble, because we're just visiting from another country. So we ran. Oh my god, I think one of the rocks actually hit one of our friends in the head, so That caused his mom to come try to have a fight with her. It was bad. It was nasty. We came over to their house to apologize. She started spraying us with a garden hose. It escalated so quickly, and before you know it, the whole neighborhood knows that, like, she just despises us. She permanently thinks Americans are crap. It was so bad. She was threatening curses to us. Like, it was bad. So it escalated from there. If someone doesn't bother me, I won't bother them. But if someone tries to have a war with me, I will fight tenfold back. Do you know what I'm saying? You throw a missile, I'll throw 10 back. I'm sorry, but it's true, right? I don't play, right? So, like, I will destroy you. So, yeah, so that was the craziest. I think the craziest thing that happened on vacation. We were I was more angry than terrified, but, like, I wanted to get back at her so bad for, like, her getting back at my friends like that. Because I defend my friends. I'm loyal, okay? I'm a Virgo and a dog sign in the Chinese zodiac. I will defend you if you are my friend. You are my life, period. And I will do what it takes, ride or die, to make sure you are safe. And I get back at who hurt you or did you wrong. But, so Hurricane Charlie, this apparently, we had the 22nd year anniversary of it. This was in Florida. We were in Sanibel Island vacationing as a family, right? I grew up vacationing quite often because, well, we had quite a bit at one point. So I missed a lot of school. So, this hurricane was apparently, I didn't know or realize how big and devastating it would have been, but we had to evacuate the island, so we had to drive rental car all the way back home to Illinois. And that was crazy because it just cut our vacation short. And I still remember people, like, trying to evacuate. And Sanibel, poor Sanibel, has been never really fully recovered since the last 2 gains they got. But that was crazy. And yeah, so I won't go too much into that. One time I had a big fight with my family. I don't know, I was just in the mood. I just had a temper tantrum with my brother. We fought a lot growing up. We were like, I was just picking and teasing him a lot. He was, he gets angry sometimes at the smallest things. So, we were just back and forth like oil and water. So I remember just being yelled at and just like saying like, oh, you ruined the vacation. And I was just in a mood. I don't know what happened, but I was just not having it. Like, one thing after another, it was just a huge escalation, and it kind of ruined the trip. But yeah, I don't remember too much, but I just remember a big fight. And like, looking back, it just was over the smallest things, like the teenage brothers would fight over, and we were hitting each other with our arms and legs, like in the car. Like, it was bad. So it was so, yeah, dramatic. One day, another trip to Florida, I was horribly ill. I got like a high fever, and I just remember burning up at the airport, feeling just absolutely terrible for like 3 days straight. Burning, high fever, high temperature. That ruined another vacation, and we had to go home earlier, and there were no flights at all. So, I was just having to wait at the airport for over 6 hours before we were able to catch a flight to go back home. So that was terrible. You almost feel sicker when you travel. And if you're sick when you travel, the sickness feels worse than if you were just staying at home. I don't know why, like, especially long car rides. Oh my god, there was one where I just was burning up. We were in Maryland, and with my partner visiting their family and friends and stuff, and I got sick on the last day there, and we had to drive all the way back to haul some stuff because he was moving to Florida from Baltimore area. And oh my gosh, I was burning up the whole way home. That was not fun. I felt horrible. So Jacksonville, so there was a time we went to our first time to visit Jacksonville and St. Augustine, Georgia. Florida, but Savannah, Georgia as well. So we visited all three, and I'm not going to say too much because this is YouTube, but a major pow happened in Jacksonville. Surprise, surprise, because Jacksonville's like dangerous as hell, apparently. And it was all over the news, and it was at like a gaming convention or something like that. And it was just a tragedy. That's all I'll say. And people were we already were about to go the next day, so we're like, oh my god, should we cancel our trip there? Should we just go to Jacksonville Beach instead, and St. Augustine, and then shoot up to Savannah, Georgia? Poor choice of words. Should we drive up to Savannah, Georgia? And yeah, and then we decided to go anyway, and there were just people crying and mourning. Like, it was bad. I was like, why are we here? Like, this is just sad. We shouldn't be here. It kind of ruined the experience because, like, that's happened a lot here, in the last several years, and it's so sad, it's random acts of, anyway, but let's move on. But that just kind of like lowered the vibe of the trip, and it was just eerie. It was very spooky to be walking in that area where that happened. Like, what are the odds? Like, a day before, but maybe it was meant to be because our energy was required there, maybe to send some light to those people. And they were playing music, and it's crazy that something like that could happen, and then the next day there's like a crowd of people there, and you wouldn't have thought like, oh, this event happened there, but yeah. So that was another crazy event. Oh yeah, we went to California a couple times. One of the times it was in San Diego. I love San Diego. It's so beautiful. And we were trying to park the rental car on the side of the road, and then the tire popped completely. I guess we ran into like a pipe, and there was something sharp sticking out of it. But we ended up at this restaurant, and they were treating us so wonderfully. They were playing mariachi with I think the gondola it's called, and the people were just such gentlemen, and they were helping us with the rental car issue, the towing, and they just treated us so fairly, and we had such a blast, and the food was great. So San Diego always has a special place in my heart. And then we tried to go like as close to the Mexico border as possible, just to say we went there, because at that time I haven't been to Mexico yet. Now I've been, but twice. But and there were just police everywhere. It was just an army, like so many cars, and I won't go into why we were nervous, but we were nervous. Let's put it that way. And yeah, we turned around, and thankfully there wasn't any craziness, we'll put it that way. But yeah, I swear me or my family or something, we have some like spiritual divine protection. I've always felt that way. Like, anytime I could have gotten into a situation, I feel like my angels or my ancestors just like, nope. So there was one time, yes, my dear friend Jenny, I love you, Jenny, my best friend, my twin flame, my soul flame, she was, we talk like every day now, she was visiting for approximately 1 month in the summer time of 2017, and that was still when I was in the apartment, and everything went well up until the very end. I had a car wreck, and we've worked on that issue. We've gotten over it. Any resentment or hard feelings, I won't talk about it too much, but there was some back and forth between me and her for some time, and unfortunately, I hate how things happened, but it spread online. The gossip and rumors spread online because, a YouTuber with 100,000 people watching every day, you're going to be talked about on the blog forums. It's just what it is. I have no say or control over that whatsoever. So my private life leaked into my public, and before you know it, it caused our friendship to end for a temporary amount of time. So this car wreck changed my life. Even though it was dramatic, it was like a domino of cars in front of us and behind us, and then someone behind us was a hit and run. So they fooled us, gave us a fake number and darted, I learned my lesson since then, but like with Florida, don't leave your car. Call them first. insurance, and then you can leave your car and talk to them. Never admit fault, say I'm sorry, or admit blame. That's how this lady in front of me pretended, on her vacation, mind you, pretended that she was hurting. The insurance, 6 months into the case, found out she was lying, and she wasn't even legally allowed to be in this country. So karma got back on her because they caught her lying about her injuries. She tried to blame me and tried to basically sue. So it was a very stressful legal insurance case, but I won. They gave me $18,500 to cover the next car, and we can move on from that story. But still crazy. I was ill in Mexico. Okay, this was with my ex. Horribly, like, you know, the Palosa cases, whatever that's going on and spreading now in the US from lettuce, apparently, and whatever chain I will not mention. Yeah, like that kind of like bad. We had, I guess, some pulque, it's called, on a boat in Mandetaxco, where there's the only place in the world where they have axolotls swimming in the water. So it's the heart of Mexico. So we drank that like the next day or two. We got horribly ill. The whole group was wiped out except the girl, because she didn't have the pulque. Lucky her. So she was crazy, but I'm not gonna talk too much about her. I'm mad at her because she slapped my ex's butt, and I caught her. But anyway, I'll try to let it go and not be so vengeful, but screw you, girl. No, I'm playing, but seriously. Like, yeah, that, like, I have a jealous spirit. Like, you touch my man, I'm not playing around. Like, even in a flirty way, like, don't do that. Don't touch my man. Don't you ever do that again. Anyway, so, I knew she was crazy because she burned her ex's shoes for no reason. But anyway, so, look at me spilling the tea. I also caught, certain meds in his luggage, and he didn't tell me he had a certain thing, and, you know, it caused me unnecessary health anxiety, let's put it that way. So, that was a crazy trip to Mexico, you know. Everything appeared wonderful up until the very end. It's always on the very end of the vacation it gets spoiled, unlike big trips for some reason. Like, we used to own a condo in Florida, so that's why we'd always come here. We'd stay here 4 to 6 weeks at a time and had a community pool. It was wonderful. But, you know, Mexico, I was there 4 weeks, so we went to like 6, 7 different places there, different hotels and Airbnbs, so it was just a big trip, and it just got so spoiled at the very end, you know. And because I found these meds that he was taking, he wasn't telling me that he had a certain condition, and it just spoiled how I viewed him, and I lost trust in him, and it made me honestly consider breaking up with him, and then eventually I did because he cheated. So yeah, so it was just a horrible ending to our trip, but it's unfortunate because it was supposed to be a beautiful thing, but it ended up a nightmare. So yeah. You thought you've had some crazy stuff. Oh, this makes you feel better, right? So one time, actually I went camping on three separate occasions. Once with my partner, once with a friend, and once with my ex. So at this exact same camping location that I will not disclose, by the Mayaca River. It takes like 3 miles to walk in. So we had to like haul a cart. One time I kayaked in this camping spot. Other 2 times I hauled a big wagon, a beach wagon, to get there. So the first time with my friend, it was like we severely underestimated the heat, the bugs, and how hard it would be to haul our stuff. I actually lost a pillow on the way. So I was more of like a prepper mindset back then. I technically have never stopped prepping. I just keep that private. But by prepping, I mean prepping for survival for the future, for like an apocalypse, basically. So I was trying to strengthen and toughen myself. The anxiety was through the roof that day because my friend was having a lot of anxiety. It was his first camping trip. And I was, I wish I was more maybe easygoing, or I don't want to say I wasn't compassionate, but I was almost like, oh my gosh, we're just about to have a blast. Like, calm down, like, we're gonna have a good time, right? I was almost getting agitated because they were getting agitated, right? So I was trying to make it just a good experience and not spoil it, right? So I was like, let's just keep going. But like, we were dehydrating, we were sweating like crazy, mosquitoes were on top of us, and it was so hard to pull that wagon through the sand, especially up until the last like 500 feet of the walk, because I had like a map GPS thingy to guide us through where to go through the trails, because you could easily get lost. We actually did get lost and had to go back, and like half a mile, it was a disaster. So by the time we arrived, we had to quickly set up the fire and the food, and then before it got dark, set up the tent. The second time I went camping with my now partner, it rained on us. I just barely, by the time we arrived, had enough time to set up the tent, and it was pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring. The water was starting to get up to the tent. We had to zip it up so it wouldn't get in the tent. So we had to wait till the water seeped down in the soil. Mind you, we're right next to the Mayaca River. There could be alligators. We don't know, right? It's risky as it is. So that was no fun trying to start a fire after the ground just got soaking wet. Thankfully, I had a fire starter. It was still able to happen, but it took effort. So we were hungry. It was no fun, right? We didn't know when the rain would stop, and it was scary. You're just in a measly tent, and it's thunderstorming outside. So that was crazy. One time we had to evacuate a flight for an oil leak. The whole plane started to go up in smoke. The whole air vents started to smell like benzene, basically. It was terrifying. And we all had to leave. We were actually just ready to take off, and the odor started coming. Everyone on board was coughing. And they said if that happened a minute later, we would have all died. The whole plane would have exploded in the sky. So again, I do believe I have divine angelic protection. Another time there was recently a flight cancellation and a transfer to Orlando. We were coming back from Chicago, and we were supposed to end up in St. Louis, but we had to be diverted to Orlando in a non-stop flight. It ended up working out because I would have rather a non-stop either way, but there was no way to get to the airport. There was no flight out to our airport till the next day. He had work the next day, so there was no way we could do that. And so we had to go to Orlando, get a rental car, drive down. I was exhausted. I don't know how we did it. A long flight and then another 3-hour drive back home. I was fatigued, to say the least. And then I had to return the rental car the next day at another airport an hour away, and then drive back home. It was tiring, and then still work. Like, oh my gosh. So it ended up working out, but I had to request for the airline to refund my money for the rental car, and they did. Thankfully, it took a while, but they eventually did, and then they gave me a flight voucher, which was nice. So of a certain amount of money. So that was insane. But always plan and prepare ahead of time, and hopefully you're able to accommodate with your job if they're easygoing, if you have an emergency like that. Okay, that's all the crazy events I can think of on the top of my head from my notes. My little post-it notes about stuff that's happened. That was 10 crazy events. Wow. Yeah, that was the top 10 that I could think of craziest events on my vacations. I'm sure there was more, but maybe less dramatic. That wouldn't be fun for this video. So thank you, Jennifer, for booking. I hope you enjoyed this video. Use coupon code TONY2 for 20% off any services on my website. In the description box, in the top pinned comment down below, to TonyBomboni.com for your own custom ASMR video. I love you all, and I will see you all very shortly.